Thank you.
Let's see. Okay.
Hey, Edwina, nice to see you.
Good to see you. Yeah.
So this is your Penland home?
Yeah, I'm in my studio, and then that's where I've been doing some Zoom spinning group on a Sunday afternoon.
Oh,
So,
great.
a perfect way to just sort of set the iPad up, and I need somebody to come help me set it up on the computer. There's something going on where I need a 5-year-old. That's the thing. I'd rather go to the weaving loom than deal with the technology of today.
Well, sure. But it looks, I love the light.
Yeah.
That's what's asking you where you are.
Lights.
And I actually think I'm gonna, yeah, you can see me well enough here.
Yeah.
I am in between my living room and my dining room. Mm-hmm. What happened to me, I have a little studio out back, which I could walk the computer out and show you, but usually, would come in and go to there in the afternoon. But when the pandemic started, my living room was clean and I just moved in.
Right.
I can see everybody walking by. I like the light. And so I kind of, here's where I am right now.
Right. Well, I kind of did the same thing when I think this is week 30 and somebody said, "Are you counting?" I said, "Yeah, I'm just putting it on a calendar." I go, I said, "Why not?" That's something else to keep up with and keep your mind going.
Right.
So I've been weaving a lot, except the last month I haven't done as much. I've tried to do a few more things in the house, but I don't really care, and the dogs don't care, and I'd rather go to the weaving room.
Yeah. And that's separate. That's separate from your home, right?
No, it's all connected, which means the whole house is full of fiber, which
yeah.
We
have that in common. We have that in common, I'm telling you what. And this on the weekends I get up and say clean some, and this weekend it was cleaning my bathtub, which was a big deal. It's delightful that it's clean. You know what I mean? But I never quite get into my studio to clean. I clean the places that I eat and stuff, sleep and stuff like that. But my studio, just, I'd like to see it, to work with it. How about you?
Well, I like to see it to work with, and I'll straighten up the studio some when I'm looking for a particular yarn to do a project. But I hadn't woven the little 5 to 6 inch scarves in a long time, so I wove a whole bunch of those, and then I've worked on tapestries where I've ended up dyeing all the yarn because I didn't like any of the commercial colors I had around. So the show I was to have at Barton College in Wilson, I ended up calling the girl, and said to her, "Anyway, we can just postpone this." The university kept giving her different directives, and that's okay. They, it's taken the universities a long time to figure this out.
Sure.
Yeah. And so that's going to be in August of 21.
Good.
Yeah. Good. But I have worked now in exhibition at the Bascom.
Yeah, me too. We're in that same show. Like it, Blowing Rock. I bet people.
Yeah, I'd like to go see that.
Right. Well, let's tell these people the name of that. It's Jerry Jackson curated
it. Yeah.
Is it Southeastern Fiber? I think it's Southeastern Fiber, not just North Carolina, right?
No, it must be. It's Southeastern, because I know one person that lives in, I think he's in South Carolina, who's in it. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be. I bet it's a nice show. I'd love to see it too. So,
and then the Bascom hasn't put out any information on it that I've seen.
No. Well, we know it's there. What happened to you happened. Well, it didn't. It more happened to me. I was working toward a show at Blue Spiral for this past summer, summer gone bye-bye. And I was honored. It's a seminal show for Robert Johnson, who does nature paintings, and they were doing a catalog of his work. quite wonderful work. And so they decided to ask me to do animal sculptures because all his work was on the wall. So they invited me. I'm very honored to be with him, this major retrospective of his. But they decided, because it's a major retrospective, he's been cataloging all the North Carolina parks, and they would do it next summer.
Right.
So, but I had a house full of work, so I drove up a bunch of it. So, because I got another year to make more work,
Right.
So I put a bunch of work. You can go on their website or my website and see it. I really like the work that I've got, and I'm glad to have a lot of it out, because I don't want to sit around. We don't want it sitting around our house for 2 weeks to do it. Yeah.
But it's hard to find places to show textiles.
In general?
In general, yeah. With your sculpture, I think it's different than people who do wall pieces.
I understand. Yeah. I tell you though, your show at Blowing Rock that we were both in, I mean, I loved that work, Edwina. I loved it. And you sold it too.
2 of them, yeah. 2 of them went away. That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were both people I knew from the past. One lady, I think I met her briefly, but she told me she first saw my work like 25 years ago at a friend's house, and I knew exactly who she was talking about. And
right.
you never know. It was fabulous.
And you never know what somebody's thinking, and then they'll show up. I mean, some of my best friends that I think are totally poor will all of a sudden say, "Hey, we've been waiting for a crow, and we're ready to buy." And it's like, "Ooh, okay." Okay. I mean, one of the things that's happened to me since the pandemic is I have my work at Blue Spiral. A little bit of work in all my books are at Piedmont Craftsmen, but I have work at Blue Spiral, and I have other sculptural work at a local gallery here, Craven Allen. And somebody was looking for something to keep them company in their New York apartment, so they started hunting down rabbits by Bryant.
Oh.
And so looking around, I think they saw them at Blue Spiral, but they were closed. But this other gallery had some, and so all of a sudden, 3 rabbits went to New York.
Oh, great!
I thought that was nice, Yeah,
anyway. That's definitely nice.
Rabbits you don't have to feed.
Yep. Yeah. Well, let's see. I think I was born in the year of the rabbit. Chinese rabbit. Yeah, that was on in a Chinese restaurant, on the placemat. And
I got you. So Edwina, we need to tell everybody. Well, do you know I think they told me that you're maybe a year or 2 older than me. I don't know how much. Just like you got me by a year or 2 at least, But anyway, that they made you a lifetime member of Piedmont Craftsmen or something.
Well, if they did, I don't remember it. But I
had never heard of the honor. I would like that too, because you don't have to pay dues anymore.
Well, because Highland Guild, I'm a lifetime member.
Okay, well that's good. That's good. And so, but anyway, my story on getting into Piedmont Craftsmen was I studied to be a potter, started making these baskets when I was up north, and anyway, so I moved down here and applied to Piedmont Craftsmen, and they didn't let me in. You remember when Lyda Lowry was the director?
Yes.
Anyway, I think she was really upset because they were, my baskets were sculptural, not traditional shaped, and I think the jury maybe thought, But I was and I got into the Philadelphia Craft Show and some other shows, and I was selling them, but I couldn't get into Piedmont Craftsmen, which at that time, as you know, was, a hook, line, and sinker, the best show in the Southeast,
True, that definitely was the best show, and. Right. With your sculptural baskets, that's why I invited you years ago to Penland.
Right.
And that got you coming to Penland.
That's right. I mean, that was leading into this, that, I was trying to knock on doors. Sandy Blaine invited me to Aramond immediately, but I just couldn't get in the guild at first. I think it's tough when it's I'm telling you, when it's an all craftsperson jury, that's a tough jury. Anyway, it's all great. And things like this, right? And where did you see my work? Because I think people just heard I was a basket maker, because I went down to teach with you. You invited me to teach because I stayed with you when you were teaching at Charlotte.
Yeah, and
How?
yeah, but before that, you'd come to Penland.
You think that was before? Okay.
I think it was before that you invited you to come and show your baskets to a class I was teaching
Right.
at Penland, and I can't remember if it was a summer class or a concentration.
Well, here's what now that's a good question. I just
Yeah,
remember that bright, beautiful loom room.
right.
And it was around that same era or whatever, because I was traveling out everywhere and teaching basketry. But I so remember that because we're in that beautiful loom room. I wonder if that's the first time I was ever at Penland.
Well, you told me it was your first time.
Okay, don't you love that beautiful loom room?
Yeah.
Boy.
Mm.
But I'm mixing it up with another time too. When one time when I was there a couple of years later, I think I took Ruth Gaines' weaving class because I thought I needed to learn to weave, which one time was one time, but I did it. But my niece was born, and so I was weaving this giant baby blanket, and we hung it out the windows because I got a telegram that she was born. She's like, I don't know how old she is now, 39 or something, 40. Anyway, so maybe she's not that. But so that time when I was there, I just so remember the bright light room, and maybe I could remember when it was. I just gotten my hair cut too short. I remember that it was really short, but yeah, it was great. And then Claire Stanford, was that his name, of the director?
Stanford was yeah.
And he was somebody, and she was Claire, right? Because she came up.
Oh, her name was Joy.
Oh, Joy, was her name Joy? You sure? Okay, maybe I'm getting, okay. Well, anyway, she came up and saw what was going on and said, oh, you have to come back and teach. And it's all because you had me up there.
Right.
She got it, and you got it, and she got it, and then so I got invited to teach, and I don't.
Well, that's one of the things I've loved about being a teacher is trying to make connections.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or I mean, when Jane graduated with me at UNCC, I connected her with 3 weavers in Winston-Salem that she worked for.
Jane Dowd was one of your students.
Yep, she was one of my students.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
I told her, I said, you've only had one teacher, me, and I said, there's a lot more out there, and these are 3 people that probably would like some extra help. And
who was it? Linda Phillips? Was that one of them?
Linda was one of them, and yeah.
Do you remember who else? Because I remember her. I mean, I've still got one of her pillows, or I don't know, maybe I've given it away, but I remember her.
Yeah, and I don't know whether she worked for Tommy Melson or not. I think Tommy used to weave.
She did. She was actually, when she retired from whatever job she was, I stayed with her a couple of years when I was up doing a workshop for schools for Piedmont Craftsmen, and Tommy was asking me about craft shows because she thought she might get back into weaving, and I'm going like, don't ask me about craft shows. I made my living with them. I liked it, and then it was time to not like it, time to not be that public.
And I did some of the Piedmont craft shows, but with teaching full time, I didn't really have time to do it, so I backed out of it.
Yeah, too, right, and your sister too. Yeah, and I mean, it's a gift, and I've just kept being a member to sell through the shop, and then I've done a lot of. I met Nicole, who's the education person. Did you ever know Lynn Foltz? She was the head of the arts in the Winston-Salem public schools. Did you ever know her? She was very creative.
No, I didn't know her.
Anyway, so Lynn Foltz had me to come do a bottle cap mandala at her school, and I met Nicole, and so I've been working with her ever since, doing stuff.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
You're a good teacher.
Well, pardon?
I said you're a good teacher.
Well, thank you. Back at you. And I think some of it, don't you think, is that openness to being influenced by what you see that others are doing, and or sending your student out to, I can teach you this, and here's a direction where you can learn even more.
Well, and that's what I do. And I'll still take a class, and people look at me and go, what are you doing in here? And I said, never mind. I go in the back of the room. I don't say anything, but you can always learn something.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, I even took a class years and years ago with Peter Collingwood and walked in the door there at Cheekwood in Nashville. It was by the Nashville Fiber Group. And he said, "What are you doing here?" And I had met him because he was a good friend of people here in the Penland Mountains that
Mhm.
had a house. And I said, "Don't worry, I go to the back of the room, same story." And one day another gal and I went walking around Cheekwood, and when we came back, one of them said to me, "Peter was over here looking at your loom, wondering what you'd done."
Which
And
is
I
something
thought,
complicated.
I thought, well, that's okay. You know, for me, it's learn to do something and then learn to change it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just keep going.
Well, and sometimes, well, yeah, I think people always have this art and craft argument, or I'm not even talking about that stuff. We're expressing ourselves, and I think that's what art's about. But when you have something in your skill set and in your body that's like the repetitive motion of weaving and all the techniques behind that, once you learn that, you know the steps to skip, the steps to skip, or
Right.
what you can add or take away, or just it's because it's innate. And that's I think that's art.
Well, I think it is too. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
really do.
Yeah.
So, and you laughed at me when I said I had that one time with the loom experience. Yeah, I thought I'm not going to warp a loom ever again. Thank you very much, and bless all of you that do. But I'm not going to do it. But I did it. I did it. And I remember I picked this. It was this pink and aqua bunch of cotton that was kind of messy, but it was cotton, and I liked the colors of it, and I wanted to use it. And Ruth kept saying, "No, you can't use that. Like, it was messy." She wanted me to get something that was, but that's what I wanted. And so I unwound it. Now I'm just making messes and making animals out of the mess. But but anyway, I like the feel of materials. You're just attracted to that material, and that's the one you want. Like you said, when you were hunting, looking for certain color, or you were going for color then, but also you know what yarn you wanted. The weight of it, everything of it, right?
Well, right. And, when like I said, with these tapestries, I pulled out yarn and I kept looking at it and looking at it. And then finally I said to myself, "You are not going to like this. You better go to the dye pot."
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Not even doing a sample, it wouldn't be pleasing. Yeah.
Let me ask you this, dye pot wise, because I'm this recycle materials. And so, well, I'm going to tell you the long story of it. But anyway, I used to teach part-time at the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics, which is like you can throw a rock and you're there. It's in my neighborhood. And I would do nighttime activities for the kids, keep them out of trouble and stuff, art activities. And one of the things they loved, of course, was tie-dye. And then if you can do tie-dye, you can do batik, because I just got to get a little wax into it. And that was always a no-brainer. Lots of people would show and do it. But I would have little bits and pieces of it that I thought, here's this dye. I just mixed up all this crochet and dye, and I don't want to throw it down the sink. So I just started using it, dyeing yarn, or I would actually paint the paper for my books with it. But anyway, so I'm that is over. I'm getting rid of the Pro-Shine, and the two natural dyes that I know that are steadfast that I like are indigo and walnut hull.
Mm-hmm.
And I pre-reduced stuff that Catherine pre-reduced indigo that Catherine Ellis. Yeah, but she had a good recipe for that. But is there any other natural stuff that you think is easy to get your hands on that, if it's hard? Go ahead.
No, those two are the easiest with cotton. I mean, everything else you've got to take your cloth and mordant it, and mordant means to bite, so that's
Right.
another step you have to do. And
Right.
Truthfully, with some of this yarn I've dyed recently, I've had packages of Cushing dye that I used years
Oh,
ago.
yes.
And
Yes.
when I think back about textiles and what I saw when I was growing up, what I finally remembered was grandmother in the kitchen with pieces of wool pulling them out of a pot, because
Mhm.
did several hooked rugs.
Mm.
And yet I go out to her house and we'd go to visit and you'd see the hook rug she was working on. And then the next time you go, it's gone. Well, it's gone because she didn't like it and she pulled it out. And I thought, that's where I got
all the way out. You mean she didn't dye it another color?
Yeah.
She pulled it out?
Yeah. She was changing the design or pulling it out to dye another color.
Wow, that's interesting.
So, but I have done a lot of natural dyes, but it's very time consuming and hard to do in a short time with a group.
That's what I figured. I had a display, and it was up at Boone, a big show with lots of different recycled materials that I was transforming into other things, and they wanted me to teach the students how to make crows, and I think there's the video of it still out there. I said, what the heck, we'll do it. So they made these crows, and so then they wanted me to put crows should be in the show, and I said, okay, but on the other hand, I thought I want to differentiate my crows from their crows. Mm-hmm. That makes sense to you. But anyway, so I decided I was going to make these paper crows instead, and paper and wire, and then I wanted to dye them. I wanted to be black, and I just thought to myself, I said, I'm going to dye them both with walnut and then over dye them with indigo, or the other way around. So it looked pretty good, really bluish black, and of course crows will break to a blue in iridescence anyway. So I told this to Anne Marie Kennedy, the paper maker, Anne Marie, and she said to me, she said, Bryant, she said, how do you think they used to get black in days?
Right.
Exactly that way. I was like, oh, well, good. I'm glad I'm on the right track there. I just thought I was the smartest thing ever. But no, it's just like, that's the way you would do it. If that's what you had, in your arsenal. Mm-hmm. And of course, I did read maybe about 8 or 10 years ago, the story of the founding of Penland with you're going to help me with these names, but the women that were going out and dyeing their, gathering different things and making the dyes for everything they wove. Who would some of those people be? Can you come up with any names of those guys in that?
Well, I don't know that the Penland weavers did a lot of dyes for what they were weaving, because they got the thread from Lily Mills that then was the going concern in Shelby.
Well, see, you have to go back to the very beginning before there was anything. And that's what that book, it was a book I got out of the Penland Library about before there was Penland, and the women in the mountains and what they were doing.
I don't know that I read that book. I'll have to look it up.
Yes, do. But I think Lucy Morgan gets involved, and they end up going to the World's Fair and someplace they can take a train to.
When they went to the World's Fair, that was during Penland time, because there's a truck that's not the original truck, but it's the same year as the one that went to the fair, but they have the original cabin that went to the World's Fair.
Yeah.
And that is on back of the truck, and it's now in a covered structure underneath cover in the back of the loom craft house.
Yeah, and I feel bad I don't know the name of that book, but we should both read it and talk about it some more about what happens. That's fascinating.
Well, but the book that relates to that and tells the story of that is Gift from the Hills.
Okay, I think that must have been it.
There was a man who went through the area and he wrote a book on Crossnor and he wrote a book on Penland and
I think it was Gift from the Hills.
It's Gift from the Hills.
Yeah, and it just reminds you, it's like, wait a minute, there's a time when people figured it all out. So, there's not to do anything.
Well, that was Mrs. Conley who did the first natural dyes at Penland. Mm-hmm. That's in that book. And then Katie Lewis, who is known as Ma Lewis, she helped write the Penland dye book. Mm-hmm. Do a second, a second time around for it to straighten out some things. And then now it's been reprinted. Good. So it's available. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. I used a lot of those recipes because they related to the area.
And so tell me some of the stuff that you did. I know it's more than and a lot more trouble, but what were some of the plants you used?
Oh, I went and gathered rhododendron leaves and coreopsis, and of course did walnut hulls. And then cochineal really was a powder that you ordered, or the bugs
Right.
do it. They're not cactus plants you can take the bugs off of.
No, I've always thought that red, unless you got cochineal, I mean, you can get some, pokeberry red, but that's fugitive, so fugitive.
No, I dyed with pokeberry, and I got a fabulous color, and I used it in a cushion. And I don't think it was 2 months later that I looked at it one day and I went, I didn't put white in there. Definitely fugitive. Yeah, gone. Yeah, no, but, and then the time of the year that you gathered things like rhododendron leaves and soaked them out, they give you a different color.
Yeah, and what colors was the rhododendron leaves? I didn't register that. What color were they?
The best color I got from it was a real dark gray green. And actually my mother knitted my sister a sweater with that yarn. And Cynthia still has the sweater. She wears it.
Right.
Yeah, that, and also one with cochineal. Look back at it and I go, oh, I did do that, didn't I? Make the yarn, not knit. I'm not a good knitter.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But
that's something I like to do. I like to knit, but because I don't have to, I don't know. It doesn't have no warping involved. That's what I like about it. And I don't have to warp.
And when I knit, I need to do remedial knitting with a friend of mine because I get stuck. But I have managed to knit several pairs of wool socks.
Well, good for you. Good for you, especially if you say you don't knit. Do you like to crochet at all?
No, never really got into it. Yeah.
My theory is that they're either knitters or crocheters, but apparently there's knitters, crocheters, and weavers.
Right. There's some of the people with this spinning group that there are a few of them that are weavers, but most of them are knitters, and they've knit some incredible things. They're taking classes now online.
So do you teach them, or is it a group, like a get together that Zooms together? Are you the boss?
It's just a get together that
nice.
You yak at people, and somebody may be working on tapestry, somebody may be spinning, and another lady, her cat's always in her lap, and that's fine.
That's nice.
Yep. So it's just kind of a get together, because once a month when we would meet, we haven't done it. Everybody's being really careful.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I was actually, I've been teaching through Pocosin Arts down east, and also through the Resource Center for Women Ministry in the South, which is an organization where I am. I've been teaching some hands-on workshops using the scraps and t-shirts and stuff from your home. And it just occurred to me, I'm not going to teach till after Christmas, but it just occurred to me, because a lot of the people are coming back again because they like the community that's created. And I thought, well, now I got all these people that don't need the first class anymore. Maybe I need to start or something. You do it once a month? Zooming once a month? Is that what
our Zoom spinning group right now, we're doing it every week. Yeah.
And who is it?
So you're teaching a Zoom class for Pocosin?
I did. I already taught one, and I will teach another one end of February. And if we're lucky, I was scheduled to do hands-on there last spring, when everything closed down. And then, so she said, let's reschedule it for 2021. But we don't know whether that's going to happen. But meanwhile, I'm going to do another Zoom. I'll put it on my website pretty soon, into February.
Yeah.
Yeah. And It's been okay. As long as I get somebody to help me with the spotlighting, I'm okay. I like to have the conversation going though. I'm not, some people have like 3 cameras and really teeny tiny techniques. I don't do that. It's like, I respond to what people ask, the questions people ask and stuff, but it's been good.
Well, I think it's great those classes are going. I actually went over to a friend's house recently and she signed up for a Zoom class, and she said to me, Edwina, why don't you come over? And I said, well, I'll come over and I'll just sit in the background and not be part of it because, you know, I've done most everything this person was presenting. But it was really a good thing I was there because there were things that should have been explained that weren't.
Mhm.
And the visuals should have been, they weren't great, you know, for this Zoom class. So that's a lot people have to figure out.
They do. So what was the class?
Well, it was on textiles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I mean,
where there should have been close-ups, there weren't. And
yeah.
then as a teacher, with me looking at it, it's like, okay, if you're doing this technique and then it goes to something else, then you should have done like a cooking show where you had something else already prepared so you could go into that.
I see. I see. Well, a lot of things to learn, and like I said, that they're triple cameras and stuff on people to do it. Anyway. So I've enjoyed doing what I'm doing, but mine is looser than most, you know, and every once in a while, it's like if I'm doing it hands-on with people, I see when that person's not doing something tight enough or something, and that's what you don't see on Zoom, you know. Right. So, you know, sometimes you can miss them, but the people are good sports about it because like we're doing the best we can, you know.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I know several people who are doing the Zoom classes.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Yeah, and I hope you know, we'll hope that they'll open up soon, but we'll see. I sort of saw when this was happening. I asked my local organization. They're the ones that they published my book on living without plastic called The Last Straw. I don't know if you know about that, but I wrote a blog that we took a book about using less plastic. And so they published it. And so they do a lot of workshops on writing and spirituality. And I just said I had a hunch that I could do spiritual, and it worked out well. So I sort of trained myself. Good. I worked with the Chicago. I was supposed to go up and have a hands-on with the Chicago Embroiderers Guild this summer. And so they called me and they said, Brian, I guess we have to cancel. And because I had done this other workshop, I said, I bet I can do it online. Let's try it. You know, and we did. It was a great class. I mean, I really bonded with everybody there. And I sent them a box of particular materials just because I wanted to make sure they had safety glass. If I was going to use wire, they had safety glasses. But it went really well.
Oh, good.
It's not the same thing as being there. But guess what? I wasn't going to be there, and I was really disappointed. So, you know, let's do something else.
You figured it out.
I did. I did happily. I did. So anyway, so. Well, it's been pretty easy to talk, hasn't it, Edwina? We got a lot to say.
Well, you and I can just take up where we left off. We just keep going. Neither one of us are quitting what we're doing.
Well, you know, that's a good point. And because I'm old enough that I'm getting that Social Security, of course. And so people will say, and people that have got these jobs, they're like, okay, I'm stopping and now I'm retired. What am I going to do that I'm retired? And are you retired yet, Brian? They'll ask me. And I just look at them like, do you know who I am? Retired? What retired artists do you know? Do we know any retired artists?
Yeah, and I actually know a couple, but not in textiles. But I know a couple of people who've, you know, sold all their equipment and stopped what they were doing. And, you know, and when I think about one of them in particular, it's that they were more just production oriented. And the work didn't ever change very much. And I think that's fine because people that way make a good living at it.
Right.
And then then they decide they're going to move on. I think that's fine. I don't have anything against it. Yeah.
No, but it's a different than the fact that I'm always thinking of new things to do,
Yeah.
like this led to this, led to this, led to this, and then, like you said, you went back and did some size scarf you hadn't done, but you hadn't done it in a while. It's interesting. It's going to be a new way, as long as you're interested in it, let's go for it.
Well, and I posted a picture of this pile on Facebook of these scarves, and through that I've sold a couple of them, which has been fun. But then you realize how much time you're spending taking photographs and sending them to people of what they think they're interested in, and then some answer, some don't. You just, it's no different than being in a gallery and doing gallery sitting, and people come in and they're be-backs. You don't know if they'll be back or not.
That's right. People say, oh, you have your stuff in the gallery and I want to give the money to you. And it's like, nah, that gallery earned side of this. That's their job. And it's not for me. I sold some online something and the guy wants to return it to me. The gallery contract says no, but he goes in because you can email. It's like, no. But I just, I don't want, you and me and friends, that's one thing, but really I want to keep our galleries afloat too, don't you?
Oh, I do too.
Yeah, and they earn their part. They own that for all the be-backs. I never heard it called that.
Well, the Arts Council in Spruce Pine Toe River Arts is one of the first ones that did the studio tours years ago, when you look at the history. And so this year it's going to be virtual. We all had to answer, do you want people coming or not coming, yada yada, and then it's like, well, whatever, but everybody decides that'll be fine. And so it's going to be virtual now, and the Arts Council was really smart, saying, okay, here are 3 different ways you can do it. And one way is they're going to photograph it and sell it and put it up on the website. And if it sells, they'll take their percentage and take care of everything. And I'm going, that's for me.
Right.
Because I don't want to sit in front of a computer for 3 days or a week or however long they're going to do it. I think it's going to be fabulous.
Well, that's great. I have to figure out something. I do have some local stuff I do here, and she said we're going online. And I just like, I want to leave journals out on my front porch, and just tell the neighborhood, come by and leave money in a box.
Right.
But I don't think this is going to be a big year of around town sales for me.
No.
Just one thing. But.
Well, and there's so many people in this mountain area here. When you do studio tours in spring and Christmas time, you never know how many people are going to come, and people are lazy. They won't drive 500 yards down a road. They want it right there on the road.
Well, when I'm thinking about this virtual thing, and because Penland's got such a reputation, that maybe that means people from Chicago can buy your work, and shop it out. They wouldn't be coming to the walk around show anyway, but they can come to this.
Well, but Penland, in their gallery, they are doing a lot of virtual stuff, and this is the Arts Council in Spruce Pine.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, from the 2 organizations I've been working with, I have had the one from Pocosin, someone signed up from Manchester, England, and my friend that lived in Denmark took it. And then the one around here, there was a woman coming in from Senegal, and she ended up, she was having a bad internet connection. But I mean, like stuff, and I definitely had 2 folks taking it from New Hampshire and somebody from Colorado.
That's great.
Yeah, but it's like, that's what you can do. It's like, I've always wanted to go to Penland, but I never made it. Well, now I want to take a class with Edwina. If she's online, you can at least come and meet her.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you know if I'm doing one. Maybe you can come do something with some of your scraps, Edwina. Price is right. It's not like going, you know, when you're sitting in your own living room having the class, you don't charge as much.
No. Keep going.
Right,
Yep.
right. So, well,
Yep. So I guess my future of what I'm doing is I'm still weaving. I did the tapestries. I've even worked on getting them mounted for this future show in 21. So I figured, well, okay, don't let them sit in the corner, do something with them. I'll still have three of them to finish, but it's like, don't let them sit there, go finish.
right. Good.
So that's been a good thing for me. But I guess part of what I'm talking about and what you do too for yourself is you're your own self motivator. Isn't anybody else gonna do it?
And if I'm sometimes good ideas have come from what I call a stuck period.
Right.
You know, oh, here's one of my best stories on that. When I was up visiting Jean McLaughlin, a bunch of her college friends, and they kind of merged with another group of friends that would get together every once in a while. So she had a bunch of us, some of us knew each other and some of us didn't, up to stay at Bonnie's to a little reunion at Bonnie's house in the middle of winter. And we all rented rooms up at Horner, where that would have been where it would have been before everything was redone.
Years ago, it would have been at Horner.
Yeah. So anyway, and I was just in a place where I just didn't know what I was going to be doing next, and I'd sort of done this, and I was just like kind of stuck. And I hate to even say that. I hate to admit I ever get stuck, but I do. And so I'm walking from Horner. You got to walk that loop, and to get to Bonnie's house. And so you probably know whose house this was, but so I'm on the road, and then it's way past where you go down to Cynthia's, but the road, it's up, it was slanting up here and was slanting down a little bit, and so there was a tree, and I was eye level to the crows in the tree.
Oh,
and they were just talking to each other, just making. I was just like, look at you, boy. And I guess I wasn't making much noise. And I had a previous show where I'd done all this stuff with yarn, and I'd ended up wrapping some snakes and some rats. I don't know why I did rats, but I thought everybody needed a rat for their Windsor chair. And then I looked at those crows and I went like, goodness, I want to make crows. And so I started making crows, and I thought they were brilliant. I had a show up at with a bunch of other people up at the Works. They weren't brilliant. They got better. They weren't brilliant. I was so excited about them. I could not see they weren't yet brilliant, but I was so into those guys. And so I'm now I'm known for making crows. I hadn't made one in a while, but I just have looked at them and thought about them for a long time. And so I'm a crow.
But that got started.
What? Yeah, it got started looking at when I thought, oh, I'm just down and out and I don't have any good ideas. And I looked at this crows and I said, okay, there you are. So, and then I just began making all the animals I see around me. That's how that happened.
Right.
Yeah, do you ever get stuck like that and then all of a sudden you get a good idea?
Mm-hmm.
Can you think of one? Tell me.
Well, right now there's a warp on my loom that's been on there way too long. So that I've walked away from it. And the other day I thought, okay, now maybe I know what I can do with it. And because the original idea of what I was going to weave, and I did weave something on it and cut it off, and it didn't work. That's why a weaver has more than one loom.
Of course.
Because you need to figure out what colors you're going to use or what's next. So that's,
or you might not know what to put the next color is, and that's why you're giving yourself a break to figure.
You give yourself a break by walking away from it. Right. Yeah, and as far as weaving the next tapestry, I keep looking at all the colors I have, and then I figure, it hasn't hit me right to start the next one. So then I skein off some yarn and go back to the dye pot.
Yeah. And probably the crows haven't talked in your ear. You haven't seen the
Right.
crows saying, whoa,
Oh, yeah,
that's what I want to do.
that's what I want to do.
Right, right.
Yeah.
When
Well, I have two of your little birds hanging up, and they're actually hanging in my bathroom.
you got
The
the credit card birds. Yeah,
credit card birds.
right,
Yep.
right. And so now I'm making pretty much just, I don't make those anymore. I decided I wasn't going to use that glue anymore. But anyway, so I'm making more softer. I'm also making paper birds, but I really, everybody gave me credit cards. And I do love people collecting for me.
Mhm.
Everybody gave me their credit cards. And now when I realized I wasn't going to do a large installation with them because they got names on them.
Yeah.
So I'm not
No.
in. But if you cut them up for the birds, that was okay because it would all be, you couldn't see it. But I didn't like the glue. The glue was making me sick. I said, all right, I'm being more organic, no more glue. So
Yeah.
I retired from that, and I'd made plenty of them. You know,
You did. You love them.
yeah. Well, that's what happened with my baskets. It's like I figured it out. I had to think, and so I started making those hats because they were those baskets. You built your warp and you wove it.
Right.
The melt baskets, and I just had to go off warp and make a crazy warp and make it into a hat just because I was like, I'm not doing that other stuff anymore.
Yep.
Just get tired of something and something else this time.
Just keep doing something else. Keep
Right.
on keeping on.
That's right. So what do you think? What else do we want to talk to them about?
Jane said something about fiber and what was happening with it. And I think there's more that you see out in the world now of fiber than there used to be. I think it was kind of had a downtime, and I think it's come back around.
Good.
With people showing and galleries showing a little bit more of it. Blue Spiral's been showing more fiber.
Mm-hmm.
And
they have me as a textile sculptor. Yeah.
Right. And they have you, and they've had some more wall pieces that.
Vicki Essing. Did you get Vicki Essing's work?
Well, she does fabulous work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you because that's when you said she's been showing. I remembered her work.
Yeah.
Small pieces from some other people too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Vicky's, I think she's showing locally around here, around Spruce Pine, Bakersfield area. Mm-hmm. I think that's coming up. I heard she was going to have some work, so that's good.
Yeah.
And, her pieces are delicate and framed, and, some of them are sculptural, within that little frame.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah, they're gorgeous. Yeah.
I agree. So, well, the way I feel about, I guess, my work, I would say, is that I'm working on what I've got. And I have a lot of stuff to work with, and I'm giving stuff away, and I'm just, okay, we can use this and we can use that. And the Zoom workshops that I'm doing are about getting out all your old t-shirts and making yarn out of that, and just whatever you got, using what you've got. And people have been amazingly creative. Amazing.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And that's been a real delight to me because when I've taught before, as people want to know the answer, like, okay, here's how you make this basket. And I'm always trying to make it open it up, which is what I did. And the same for if I teach animals, like, think of what else you could do. There's a great bird out there I'm looking at that's okay. So people are really doing that on their own with the Zooms, and so I'm really happy with it. So
good. So the Zoom workshops are making animals?
Not necessarily. Here's what I called it. I'm going to show you this right here. I can't remember what we said for Pocosin, but for the Resource Center for Women Ministry in the South, it began as a spiritually creative thing. Can you see this right here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's a cherubim, a seraphim. So it's a seven-eyed creature that's supposed to be in the heavens in the olden days. And so I was in a museum and in Spain, and they were showing all these pictures of all the old churches, all the frescoes were falling off, so they peeled them off and put them in the museum, and this was one of them that was in a church, along with all these angels, and they had eyes in their wings, and I'm like, oh. And so I was there with this ex-nun, and I was looking at that thing, what is that? And she told me what it was, and she said, Bryant, they're watching you all the time, don't you know? So talk about a crow. Then there was this guy, he's watching all the time. So I decided, I called my class for the Resource Center, Angels and Animals, because I knew we weren't going to be able to get specific. So it could be mythical, or it could, to the specific. So that's why I called it that. And that's the reason why, because I saw this seven-eyed cherubim, I don't know. Anyway, whoa. And it's just like, kids like dragons, whatever, it's just all these mythical things that you can make out of your imagination.
That's great.
Yeah, thank you. In a class, if I'm teaching it, people think, oh, I think I know what a porcupine looks like. No, you don't. You've seen 7 of them. You don't know. You've got to really go up close and look. We were always surprised with what animals look like. I don't have to be so strict if you're making a cherubim.
Well, in talking about textiles, there's so many people that used to weave, they don't weave anymore because it's not very fast. So they've gone back to painting and collage and
interesting.
Mixed media pieces you can sew together down and quick, and that's not to degrade what they're doing. It's just so they can get more done. And me, it's like, no, I'm still weaving.
Well,
I enjoy it.
What you're talking about is what I there's another word besides the repetitive process, but that sewing, it's whatever it is, that it's in and out, it's very grounding. And I make books. I still make and sew books, folding the paper, ripping the papers, all that stuff. And then my animals, I'm wrapping and sewing. And I think that is so important. And when I'm in schools, I do these weaving like a bird projects, and kids settle right down because nobody has given them the permission just to go over and under. It's not an answer. It's just the process, and you keep doing the process. And if you do it long enough, you get something bigger.
Right.
They love it. And apparently that, like in olden times, you'd chop the wood, you'd sow the seeds. There was much more repetitive process in people's lives, and that's really grounding and makes you smarter. And early on, kids need that. They don't need electronics. They need making.
Well, some years ago, I did a workshop it was actually a Charlotte Montessori school. It's been 6 or 7 years ago. And the thing is, these kids couldn't use their hands. They couldn't weave in and out on a little frame loom because all they're doing is using their thumb and their finger and on gadgets. And unfortunately, one little boy was crying. Well, thank goodness the teacher saw it and not me, because I'm so sensitive. I probably would have cried too. But he couldn't use his hands, and I talked to the kids about it beforehand. And one little girl raised her hand and she said, I play the piano, and she's shaking her hand and waving at me. And of course, she was quick as she could be because she used her hands all the time.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. But that's a sad story. I thought Montessori taught you how to do some of those things, or maybe that's a Steiner school.
That was really surprising because it was a Montessori school, but it was run by the city. I mean, there's a Montessori school up here, and it's been going since there was a doctor's wife and an artist's wife that started it many years ago in Spruce Pine. And the kids that have gone through that and gone to school around here, they're doctors and lawyers and photographers and architects and
right. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's
Yeah. You know, it's like, you know, give them the old potholder loom.
Exactly.
Exactly, which is not old. I mean, they're metal, they're made today, and you get cotton loopers that are really good. And,
You ever done that cotton looping thing when you twist it on your fingers and you could make the and one comes off and then you have this string of cotton loopers? You ever done that? You know that
well,
process?
that's what, yeah, people do that to make rugs sometimes.
Well, yeah. And so when I used to do these summer camps with kids, I didn't know their names and they were getting rambunctious and all that stuff. And so at the very end, I put the loopers out and they'd all sit down and I was good. He's like, uh-oh, it's looper time. But you didn't put them out at the beginning because then they wouldn't be so special. But I'd save them till the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, you know, I'll still sit down and make a pot holder and give it to somebody else with, oh my God, thank you. This one works.
Right.
Yeah, because cotton and they're thick.
Right.
Yep.
Where do you get yours? You still have them? Or do you order them? Huh? You order?
Yes, have them.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you know, Renee, Beverly McIver's sister Renee, you know, makes and sells those pot holders everywhere now because Beverly is such a bad painter and it's getting to me. I saw Renee's pot holders for sale for, I don't know, $50 or something at 21C Hotel lobby. It's like, go Renee. I think she's making the giant size now. There was a giant size.
Yeah, that's called the Pro.
Heck yeah.
That 10-inch one, yeah, because Beverly was complaining about the price of the potholder loopers, and I'm thinking, you know, it's you know, your sister's, it's keeping her busy. It's great.
Right, and of course, and everybody wants to buy one now, so yeah,
right,
making her money too.
Yep. Yeah. She can buy the loopers. She's making it back. It's good.
That's right. That's
it's
right.
Great. Yep.
Well, I feel like we've talked about an hour.
Right.
We could probably do another hour, but let's make them ask for more. What do you think, Edwina?
Yeah, let's make them ask for more. That's fine. You know, because I don't know if this is something new they've been doing or what. Are we the first ones?
I don't know, but I know I talked to Nicole about it a little bit because, you know, she usually has some education with the craft show, which is going to be virtual this year, I believe.
Right.
And so we're part of that, I think. I don't know how many or how many what, but I'm very honored to. We're representing textiles here.
I know, it's great. It's fabulous.
Yeah. So and anyway, so this has just made me want to see you bigger and more. So hopefully soon, Edwina, we'll be able to meet face to face.
Yeah, hopefully we can figure it out.
Right.
It's been great. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Edwina. Okay. Love to everybody up there. Bye-bye.